Okay, it's me again. Here I am again. So I was looking at the genealogies, trying to figure them out, right? Because you have identifiers, genetic identifiers that occur or don't occur or disoccur, depending on which direction the flow, the genetic family tree is going. So it turns out that the way Shem is identified here, let me go ahead and show this. Hold on. Add this to the screen. Let me go here. Okay, for example, this is out of order here. Japheth is the firstborn, Ham is the lastborn, Shem is the secondborn. This makes a difference in the genes because Noah would have been consistent when he had Japheth, would have been consistent. But all in here, he could have had mutations. Noah could have had mutations between these sons' birth. Okay, between Japheth and Shem, Noah could have had mutations as well, or Shem could have had a mutation after the fact that Japheth was born. So Noah had Japheth, Noah had Shem. They both had the same identifiers until Shem had a mutation at some point and then had other children. So let's check this out. The only problem is that it's not in the order listed. Elam, Asher, Arphaxad, Lud, Aram. Lud and Aram are one of the last ones born. Elam and Asher were born before Lud and Aram, but according to the genetics, Arphaxad was born first because Noah had Japheth, then he had Shem. Shem had Arphaxad, then there was a mutation and the other children were born. Now let's go to the genetics and see that. Here, we'll go here. Because this is what was throwing me off, okay? Because K element O, P, Q, R, S, and T is Japheth, right? So the only thing, there's an identifier here that connects Japheth with Arphaxad, which is I and J, right? We have an identifier that connects Arphaxad with Japheth. So Japheth was born first, Shem was born second. Shem had a son named Arphaxad first. Then there was a change going this way, and the other children are born, and or not. Because if they all have this identifier, it's irrelevant. If they all have this one, it's irrelevant. But these don't have this identifier, and this group doesn't have this identifier. You know what I'm saying? Follow me? But the birth is going this way. The mutations are going from right to left, right? So here's an identifier that this group doesn't have. This is an identifier that this group doesn't have, and so forth, right? So the order of birth has to be I and J first, G and H second, then F1, F2, which would be Aram and Lud, will be last. Because they don't have these identifiers, right? They don't have this identifier, and this group doesn't have this identifier. This group doesn't have this identifier. So that has to be the order of birth, because Japheth was born first, and it goes this way. So now let's look at this curiosity over here, because when it's listed, we know how it's listed. It's listed like this: Elam, Asher, Arphaxad, Lud, Aram. The only thing is that the only birth that's mentioned is Arphaxad, or Arphaxad. And anyway, let's go look at this here. This is Bible Wiki. Arphaxad was the son of Shem and the grandson of Noah. When Shem was 100 years old, he fathered Arphaxad as Shem 2 years after the flood. Okay. So Japheth was born first. 2 years after the flood, Arphaxad was born. 2 years later, Arphaxad was apparently the firstborn. But he also had several other sons, including Elam, Asher, Assyria, Lud, and Aram. Well, isn't that something? Isn't that something? That's pretty awesome. I don't know if anybody's able to follow what I'm saying, but I think it's pretty awesome. Boa tarde, Daniel. Como é que tá? Espero que tá indo tudo bem com vocês aí. Boa tarde. The other night we had a lot of Brazilians in the chat. There was a whole bunch of people speaking Portuguese, and it wasn't what's his name? I forgot his name. Is not Andrade. What's his name? I forgot his name. The Italian guy. Or the Swiss guy, or whatever. Anyway, that's bad. I get old. I forget people's names. So, but back to the thing. Back to the thing that I just found out, which is pretty interesting, because the thing is that it makes a big difference where you root the tree. You're not going to get it right unless you root the tree right. And this is where the root of the tree is, where A00 is. That's where they want to put the root of the tree, right? A00, they want to connect Neanderthals to A000000. The only problem is that Ham was the baby boy. Ham was born after Japheth and Shem. Japheth was born first, then Shem was born, and then Ham was born. So you root the tree where? You have to root the tree with Japheth here. You have to root the tree right here. You know what I'm saying? So if Japheth was born first, then we have an identifier here that connects Japheth with Arphaxad, right? Because Arphaxad is the firstborn. So then Shem had a mutation after Arphaxad was born, and he has this identifier here that this group here, G and H doesn't have, and F1 and F2 doesn't have. So this identifier here is an identifier that Japheth has, Arphaxad has, but Asher and Elam don't have. Because this is the order of the mutations, right? So then we have this identifier here that Japheth has, Arphaxad has, Asher and Elam have, but Aram and Lud don't have it. Because there was a mutation and then they were born. So see how this the direction of the mutations goes? Japheth is the firstborn. And then Shem was born, and then Arphaxad is the firstborn. He still has this identifier that connects him with Japheth because there wasn't a mutation yet. Then Shem has a mutation, and this group doesn't have this identifier here. They lost it. Then this group is born, and this group has an identifier that everybody else has, but Aram and Lud don't have. Do you follow? So Japheth has this, Japheth has this, Japheth has this, and well, this is the F. Let me see if there's another one. Yeah. Then there's another one here. But we all got it. And C is identified with the rest of them here because C is Nimrod. He's probably the firstborn too. But the ones above don't have his identifier. But the Mitzrayim, the ones born later of Cush don't have it, but the Mitzrayim and the others do. So that's what was messing me up here because I just knew F1 and F2 was Aram and Lud, and I just knew that G was Assyria, F is Elam, and I just knew that I and J is Arphaxad. And I just knew that K, L, M, N, O, P, Q, R, S, and T was Japheth. So how do I rectify all this stuff? Japheth is the firstborn. He has this identifier in common with Arphaxad, who is the firstborn of Shem. Then there's a mutation. This identifier is lost to the next generation. Then this identifier of Elam, H-I, Elam and Arphaxad is lost to this group, which is Assyria. And then this identifier is lost to the F1 and F2. So that's the way it works. Because you have to root the tree in the right place, and it has to be rooted with Japheth first. Japheth comes first. Then Arphaxad. Then Shem. Shem has a son, Arphaxad, which still has this identifier. Then this identifier is lost when Elam is born. And then this identifier here is lost when Asher was born. And then this identifier here is lost when Aram and Lut are born. But we all have this identifier of C through F, which is another thing. Or C through F has this identifier, but it was lost to Japheth. It was lost to Japheth, or Japheth doesn't have it. But the Semites and most of the Hamites have it, except with the exception of the other descendants of Cush, because Nimrod was the firstborn of Cush, more than likely. The other ones didn't have it. But that's the way it's supposed to work. That's the way it has to work. It's the only way it can work. I don't know if anybody was able to follow it, but I was pretty impressed to find that, because the root of the tree is Japheth. The second root is Shem, and Ham is the third son of Noah. So if there's any mutations, they're going this way, not this way. So this is all wrong here. That's what made this all wrong. That's why I know it's right now, because of this here. Arphaxad was the son and grandson of Noah. When Shem was 100 years old, he fathered Arphaxad 2 years after the flood. 2 years after the flood, after Japheth was born, Arphaxad was apparently the firstborn, but also had several other brothers, including Elam, Asher, Lud, and Aram. So that's the update. We're making progress here, and everything is going to work out for sure. I'm sure of it, because everything just keeps working out. I see a lot of Christian Brazilians on YouTube. Yeah. Well, I haven't been looking for them necessarily, but, I'll be friends with anybody I see, But you know how it is with friends and stuff, and Brazilians. They're good friends and everything, but they aren't necessarily grabbing onto you all the time, But anyway, let me see if I get everything straight. I guess I get everything good here. So anyway, I was pretty glad to get this straightened out, because the way this is, usually have Ham, Shem, and Japheth, or Shem, Ham, and Japheth, but the order is Japheth, Shem, and Ham. That's the order. And the order of Shem is right here, Arphaxad, as evidenced by the human genome. Human genetics identifies Arphaxad, I and J, as being the firstborn, because he has this identifier in common with Japheth that these don't have. This has an identifier that this doesn't have and the others don't have. That's the direction of the mutations. Not this way, it goes this way. Starts with Japheth, then Shem, and then in Shem's sons. Shem's other sons lose this mutation, then lose this one, then lose this one, and on, which identifies the direction of the family tree right there. I don't know if everybody was able to understand it or not, but I'm pretty pretty happy about that, because I've been looking at it a long time, and I could explain some of it, but some of it was exactly backwards. Because here we have Aram and Lud are last, but on that genetic chart, they were first. Aram and Lud were first, then Elam and Asher, and then Arphaxad was last. I said, no, but it's all backwards. Arphaxad is first, then Elam and Asher, or then Elam, then Asher, then Lud and Aram. That's the way human genetics shows it to be. And of course, Ham is after Shem. Japheth, Shem, and Ham. That's the order of the mutations. So if you don't have the order of mutations correctly, you're not going to get it right. Anyway, they pop up when I type Portuguese. No, it's you have to be thinking about this. I mean, you have to already have this stuff, loaded when I start talking about it, because this is stuff that's been bothering me for ever since I was doing it, and then Dr. Nathaniel Jensen comes up and tries to say T is the Jews, and it's all messed up. And then you have the Hebrew Israelites. They're trying to say that the Jews are E something or other. How can it be E something or other? That's all Mitzrayim. It's either Mitzrayim, Canaan, or Put. A and B is Cush. C is Nimrod. C can't be anybody else but Nimrod. That's the whole thing that got me started on this. C can't be anybody other than Nimrod. It can only be Nimrod. It can't be anybody else. That's what got me all started on all this. And then I'm saying, well, then who's the Jewish people? Or what's Judah? What's Judaic? What's Davidic? And then, of course, the Cohen modal haplotype is J1, which is usually Arabic, but apparently it's also Israelite too, because Moses and Aaron are the tribe of Levi, so it's Israelite. J1 is Israelite, J2 is Judah. J1 is also Arabic in Hebrew. I1 and I2 is Danite. It's the wayward tribe of Dan, and that's apparently what I am. I'm the excommunicated tribe of Dan who wandered away first chance they had, I guess. I don't know. But anyway, and we're this son of somebody's handmaid, so I guess we didn't rank up there very, very close to the top. But anyways, God has a plan for everybody. And of course, God has in mind to save the nations too. So that's something to keep in mind with genetics, is that the whole purpose of Messiah, the whole purpose of Israel and the Messiah is to bring salvation to the nations, to everyone, which includes everybody. So God bless. Take care, everybody. And I think we have evidence that the giant clans migrated to America sometime around conquest of Canaan. I would love to know what their haplogroups, paternal haplogroup was of those red-headed giants that fought the American Indians and lost eventually. I would love to know what they were. But anyways, we already have some of those genetics. We have G, we have I, J, we got T, R1, B, E, and B, all in America. J1, J2, I1, I2, all in America. X, 2A maternal haplogroup as well, is in America. The copper mines as well, in the same place where the R1B is from the Mediterranean Sea peoples, and probably the tea too. But we don't have that information. They haven't let the cat out of the bag because of the elephants in the room. But anyways, God bless everybody. Take care. And I'm a little bit hyped or psyched because of knowing the root of the tree and the direction of the mutations, that the mutations are going. It works great. God bless everybody. Take care.